Greetings once again. Thank you to everyone joining me for another of Electric Avenue's YouTube updates. We're doing the new releases today for August 29th, 2025. And it's an interesting week. There's actually a lot of stuff coming out for a pre Labor Day weekend. So get out and get some of this stuff because there's been a lot of good stuff come out in the last month or so, and like new Deftones is flying off the shelves, new Leve is flying off the shelves. And by the way, if you got the Leve record, I hope you found the bonus record inside. When you open the gatefold, there's a 7-inch secretly tucked inside there that's an extra song for the album. So there's that, there's Mac DeMarco, there's just been a lot of really cool stuff coming out. Wet legs. So anyway, let me get to this week's new releases. I want to start by showing a couple of things that came out in the past week or two that we missed in the video, or we didn't have them at the time. The new John Batiste record. This is called Big Money. And John, of Stephen Colbert's show for a while, won Album of the Year a couple years ago. This features guest appearances from Andra Day, Randy Newman, and No ID and Billy Bob Bo Bob. But anyway, it's the latest from him. So got that. Also, this was supposed to come out a week ago. I think some people got it and some people were shorted. We were shorted. Here it is, Wheelin' and Dealin' by Frank Ness. And you might not know Frank Ness as much as you might know John Coltrane. This is John Coltrane, Paul Quinichette, Mal Waldron, Doug Watkins, Arthur Taylor. This is a prestige release, mastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. Guy who does all the Blue Note stuff. This is a pretty older sort of archival release, but 1958. So early Coltrane, that's why he doesn't have top billing here. But Wheelin' and Dealin', it looks like they're all on roller skates. How 50s can you get? That's awesome. I say that, we were still roller skating in the 80s. So anyway, that's great. Really 4 kind of long tracks. Each side ends with Wheelin' or Dealin'. All right, and another one that I sort of slept on a couple weeks ago, or we didn't have, Brett McKenzie, and this is his new record, Freak Out City. You'll know Brett from Flight of the Conchords sort of era. This has a cool sort of cutout window here. The new album by Oscar-winning Brett McKenzie of Flight of the Conchords. This is the loser edition on glacial blue vinyl. So it's going to be witty and well recorded, well produced, and smart and funny, usually. So that's Brett. All right. Let's see. So for this week, August 29th, biggest new release, I think, this week, and sort of a controversial cover, I suppose, in some ways to some people, but Sabrina Carpenter and her new record, Man's Best Friend. I don't know. I feel like this cover is sort of smart. It's kind of a commentary on how women are seen in society by the masculine, the toxic masculinity that goes on, treating them as if they were a dog. Like a man's best friend we thought was dogs, right? Maybe there's something that she's trying to say here. I don't know, but I will delve more into this. It does look like that is on the collar of a dog there. This is the indie exclusive. I think it's sort of a different color vinyl. I can't remember what the color is, but it's not the typical. We only have a few of these. So if you are wanting it, get out Friday sometime. I wouldn't wait till much past Saturday because they might be gone. So anyway, and I was told that these indie versions are already sold out at the warehouses and they probably won't come in again. This is a cassette on a little blue cassette. Kind of cute. Anyway, there's no track listing on the vinyl, but there are 12 tracks on this record. So Sabrina back so quickly. I mean, people I think weren't expecting to see her for a little while, but she did have the breakout summer anthem last year with Espresso. So let's see. Gray Folded by the Grateful Dead. So this says on the spine, the ultimate dark star. And this says a quarter of the century in the making, the legendary rock symphony Dark Star in 100 performances by the Grateful Dead, coalesced by producer John Oswald, includes 6 time maps and a 10,000 word historical perspective and in-depth interviews with Robert Hunter, Phil Lesh, and Jerry Garcia. This I'd never seen on vinyl before. It might have been out, but I feel like it was always just kind of a CD that you saw in stores. So a really interesting Grateful Dead release this week. Kind of one that actually did sell quite a bit when it was out on CD originally, but it's cool seeing that on vinyl. I love seeing this come out on vinyl. Wilco's AM. This is a Rhino Hi-Fi edition of this record. And yeah, it's really it's an early record for Wilco, very well recorded, sort of kind of puts their sort of ethos out there early on. And yeah, this was, I believe, back when Jay Farrar was in the band. Let's see, this is 13 tracks. Also cut from the original master tapes by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio, pressed at Optimal, 30th anniversary, limited edition of 5,000. I don't know why it says numbered. Maybe it is numbered somewhere and I just don't see that. Because I think the ones that were going to retail were not numbered. But anyway, Wilco's AM, a really good sounding version of it. Also, Rhino did 2 other really great records this week in sort of hi-fi, but these are not the hi-fi series. These are the Rhino Reserves. So we've got Fleetwood Mac, Tango in the Night, probably one of the best sounding, best recorded, best produced albums of the 80s. Lindsey Buckingham did most of the production work on it. This was sort of mid-late 80s, I think 87, yeah. This features Big Love, 7 Wonders, Everywhere, and Little Lies, Family Man, at least 4 really big hits on this record. It was kind of a period where they weren't really getting along at all. Stevie Nicks was not around as much, but she did manage to sing 7 Wonders, which was a huge hit. And I think it just was sort of like kind of a sort of indicative of what really high quality 80s production could sound like, as far as like the blending of the vocals. You listen to a song like Everywhere and it's just like Christine and Lindsay's vocals just sort of meld and mesh with each other so well. And whenever Stevie's on here, it's great. She just she tends to like stick out a little bit more because her voice is a little more unique. I suppose it has different sort of character than the other two. So anyway, Tango in the Night, which is interesting. That's not part of the Rhino Hi-Fi series because they just did that with the Cars, where a couple were Rhino Hi-Fis and then they did a Rhino Reserve. Also, John Coltrane, Giant Steps, Rhino Reserve, one of the greatest jazz albums ever recorded, and another great sort of high-quality pressing of this, probably better than the one that's been out there for a long time. But this is Lacquer's cut from original analog stereo masters by Matt Lutens at the Mastering Lab. Matt is the guy that works with Kevin Gray, usually at Coherent Audio, and this was also Matt Lutens. So those probably are really great sounding records. Let's see, some new releases this week, new albums. Margot Price and her brand new record. This is called A Hard-Headed Woman. This is the indie record store exclusive on red velvet vinyl, and it's signed. It's got some sort of a autographed card or something inside. She's probably one of my favorite country rock singer songwriters. I just read her autobiography last year. What a fascinating sort of tragic story. If you know about Margot, she had a twins at one point, and one of them, unfortunately, they had to make the choice to take him off life support right as he was being born, right after. So it was her tale has a lot of tragedy. She was one of these people that was signed by Jack White originally to Third Man, and then got picked up by a bigger label, Loma Vista. So this is got guest appearances from Jesse Wells and Tyler Childers. So new Margo Price, exciting there. New record from the Hives. These guys keep making really interesting records. A Swedish punk band, punk pop. The Hives Forever, Forever the Hives. This is on limited edition gold vinyl. And it is also an autographed cover. There are not very many of these around, so just letting you know. It's actually not a cover. It looks like they threw an album flat in there, but still it's autographed all in gold. Um, and whether they're saying something a little bit sort of political with this picture, go figure. Let's see, another one. Rodney Crowell, back to the country a little bit. Airline Highway. Rodney, longtime collaborator with people like Emmylou Harris. This is actually autographed as well. This seems to be sort of a new thing where the early editions of these sometimes get signed. But this features Ashley McBryde, Lucas Nelson, Larkin Poe, Tyler Bryant, and Charlie Starr of Blackberry Smoke. This is the autographed limited edition opaque blue vinyl. And an architect of Americana as we know it from NPR. And Crowell resides in the upper tier of today's absolute best singer-songwriters from American Songwriter. And I would tend to agree with that. So, I knew Rodney Crowell. He's got to be in his mid-late 70s at this point, I think. Going for the sort of younger side of country, I suppose. Zach Top and Ain't In It For My Health. Now, maybe someone out there can tell me, is Zach Top his real name? Because it sounds a lot like Blacktop to me. But Zach Top, this is the indie exclusive bonus track included, only available on the vinyl. Honky Tonk Till It Hurts is the name of the song. So we're going more sort of trad country here. Songs like Between the Ditches, Splitsville, Guitar, Good Times and Tan Lines. Yeah, get the idea. All right, let me go for the next group here. We're at that time of year when the sort of piles of records get bigger and bigger. So, all right, sort of a shoegaze type rock band, and I don't know if they really appreciate being called that, but Slow Crush and their new album Thirst. And this is on algae colored vinyl. I mean, I think the cover is so beautiful with this kind of color palette here, as it is. Digital download included, algae marble, limited colors is what it says. Pretty much every song on here is a one-word title, except for there's one that has When You Dream Vividly is the name of it. So this was actually produced in Nashville. So anyway, Slow Crush. One to watch. Blood Orange return with an album, Essex Honey. It has been a long time since Blood Orange have put out a new record, and this is on RCA, 45 RPM. I think RCA is a new label deal for him. He was on Atlantic or something like that for a long time. But anyway, he's someone who collaborates with a lot of people. So Blood Orange to me is always sort of like, kind of like a very collaborative project. Not so much just a one artist thing, but I'm trying to remember the guy's name actually. He started out as what he was in, I think Test Icicles maybe was the original band, and then he went solo, did some records there, and then became Blood Orange. All right, the Beths and their new record, Straight Line Was a Lie, and I have to say they're from like Australia, New Zealand, something like that, maybe New Zealand. And this is on a Blue Sky limited pressing color vinyl. The Beths are kind of quirky, fun, rocky. I sort of put them in the category a little bit with like Courtney Barnett or something like that. Sort of that Aussie Kiwi sound with a little bit of like attitude and spunk, but fun, you know. Jenny Beth, and she's erstwhile of the band Savages, and so they were kind of dark, like female type Interpol type band. This is called You Heartbreaker You, the new album on white vinyl featuring the singles Broken Rib and No Good for People, and she's looking pretty intimidating as usual. Her last project, I remember, was a duets album with Bobby Gillespie of Primal Scream, and it was sort of like their take on Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood. So, and that was very good. So, anyway, I'm kind of interested to hear what this is like. 9 tracks. It's been a while for her since she's had something out. The Nova Twins. This is a new duo here. Parasites and Butterflies. Indies exclusive marble vinyl. Kind of rocking. The Nova Twins. This is let's see, Marshall Records and Nova Twins Records, 2025. So there's a lot of like good women rock coming out this week. I love it. I don't know if I can show this. The Beaches and their new record, No Hard Feelings. This is the indie exclusive Gray Moonstone vinyl edition. I mean, there's not a lot to see there, but I don't want to have the censors take me down. Let's see, and that's the back cover. All-girl band. It's great. More of it, please. Let's see. I'm not really sure exactly where they're from. There's 11 tracks on this record. Oh, oops, I just said, oh well. Brief. Freeze that image. Belinda Carlisle and her new record, Once Upon a Time in California. And this is sort of a covers album looking back on the music that sort of inspired her as the lead go-go. I say the lead go-go. The central go-go. I mean, well, none of that sounds good. It sounds like not like Jane Weedland would probably, I don't know. Anyway, the main lead singer of the Go-Go's. She does songs, Anyone Who Had a Heart, If You Could Read My Mind, One is the loneliest number, Never My Love, Air That I Breathe, Time in a Bottle, Superstar, Everybody's Talking, Get Together, and Reflections of My Life. So kind of back to like songs she probably heard as a small child back in the late 60s, early 70s, you know. So kind of simpler time type music there. All right. Marshall Crenshaw. Yes, Marshall Crenshaw. A new record. Now, this is sort of made up of things that he recorded over the last 15 or so years. Remixes, rediscoveries, and rarities. There's something from 1990, and then everything else is from 2012 to 20. It's a 3-sided LP, limited edition color vinyl called From the Hellhole. Marshall, really great singer-songwriter from like the very late 70s and the early 80s, sort of when he kind of hit it big. And then he actually did some acting as well, and he's done a lot of stuff. But this does feature They Long to Be Close to You, another Bacharach David song. I just mentioned one on Belinda's album. Let's see. Also, I Just Want to Celebrate. He's got originals like I Don't See You Laughing Now, Driving and Dreaming. Anyway, new Marshall Crenshaw. It's not every day you see Marshall Crenshaw material out there. So if you're a fan, let's see, Christian McBride, a great jazz guy, and his new record, Without Further Ado, Volume 1. This is an album that's set up for big things, I think, because it features Sting and Andy Summers on it. It also features Jeffrey Osborne, who's sadly left us, Samara Joy, who's big, and Cecile McLaurin Salvant, both pretty big modern jazz singers. Diane Reeves, a classic jazz singer. Antoinette Henry and Jose James. Features the hit songs Murder by Numbers, Back in Love Again, and Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow. So kind of jazz takes on things. And I mean, the first track, Murder by Numbers, is with Sting and Andy Summers. So guess they couldn't get Stewart for that one. He didn't want to take part. Another interesting jazz record this week, Brad Meldau covering Elliott Smith songs called Ride Into the Sun. And this features Chris Thile and Daniel Rawson with the orchestra conducted by Dan Coleman. Songs of and inspired by Elliott Smith. So they're not all Elliott songs, but they do inspire him. People who know Chris Thile know him from Nickel Creek and, winning like incredible international awards. He's a great mandolin player and whatever. And also, I think Daniel Rawson from Grizzly Bear, his last album, solo record, blew me away. His ability to play the guitar and pull things together is, again, these are top talents. So that's very exciting. All right, more. So you'll notice today when you get to the end here, I do not have a recommend today because there were so many kind of, I wouldn't say random, but so many new releases. There just really isn't time for that. So apologies. Florence and the Machine, how big, how blue, how beautiful. This was really great record from her. I think it was her third album. This is the 10th anniversary Unlimited Blue vinyl. There is a new Florence album coming in the next couple of months. So this was kind of a chance to look back at this record from 2015. Very popular when it came out. Kind of took her in a sort of more earthy, as you can see from the picture, more earthy direction than her first two records, which were a little more sort of fantastical, I would say. Verve, Urban Hymns. This is another reissue of this record. As far as I can tell, they didn't really do anything special with this. I don't know if this was ever a gatefold or not, but this is not. It is 2 LPs, and it does have the original 15 or 12 songs, but it's not gatefold. It's got the same barcode as the old one. I think it was just out of circulation for a while, and they just brought it back. I don't think they even, it's not like they remastered it or anything like that. They just brought it back because Richard Ashcroft has a solo record coming out, and he's out there opening for Oasis on their current tour. So big things there. Supertramp, Crisis, What Crisis? This gets a 180 gram heavyweight black vinyl half-speed master at Abbey Road reissue, as does Crime of the Century, probably the more popular or big selling of the two, but both did really well for them back in the 70s and kind of opened the door for what became Breakfast in America, which was their biggest selling album that came after. This one has Bloody Well Right and Dreamer on it. This one has things like Easy Does It, Another Man's Woman, Soapbox Opera. So, all right. I told you guys there's a lot today, and I'm just getting to some of the other jazz things. Original jazz classics, Wayne Shorter, and this is introducing Wayne Shorter, so early stuff. Again, mastered by Kevin Gray. This one's pressed at RTI. It's gonna sound great. This is early Wayne Shorter, which is awesome. Blues a la carte, Harry's Last Stand, Down in the Depths, a 10-minute version of Down in the Depths, featuring Lee Morgan on trumpet, Wynton Kelly on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and the other person's name is obscured. Jimmy Cobb on drums. So what a group there. All right. Another jazz reissue this week. The John Coltrane Quartet plays, and then it lists Chim Chim Cheree, Song of Praise, Nature Boy, and Brasilia. Nature Boy, probably one of my favorite songs of all time. But yeah, and even Chim Chim Cheree, Coltrane can take it and make it into the most interesting thing. This is on Acoustic Sounds, Verve Acoustic Sounds. This was done at QRP, and a tip-on gatefold jacket, and you know it's gonna sound good when they're involved, and yeah, generally. And that's on was originally on Impulse Records. A couple other random jazz records that came out this week from Elemental Music. David Axelrod's Songs of Experience. Very sort of ingenious, creative jazz guy. And he's no longer with us, but it's a really interesting record. 1969, Songs of Experience, not to be confused with U2's Songs of Experience. He's Coming by the Roy Ayers Quintet, or Ayers, or Ubiquity, Roy Ayers Ubiquity. This is the iconic jazz album presenting jazz, funk, soul, vibraphone master at the top of his game, inspired by the Broadway musical Jesus Christ Superstar. With even a cover of the song, this LP shows his spiritual and social beliefs, featuring Sonny Fortune, Ron Carter, and Billy Cobham. What a group there. Another combo. Pretty amazing. So between him and the Axelrod, those are the two Elemental Music things that came out this week. Now, there's actually kind of a third here because it's not really jazz, but Chuck Berry and St. Louis to Liverpool, that gets a reissue. I can't remember if this came out for Record Store Day ever or not, but this one has Little Marie, Brenda Lee also, and Go Bobby Soxer. Classic Chuck Berry on Elemental Music. This one just kind of makes me laugh and gives me also the kind of feels at the same time. David Bowie and Mick Jagger, Dancing in the Street. If you remember, this was kind of a benefit type single, or a single that came out right about the time Live Aid was happening, and this was sort of one of their contributions to all of that, and they released this record. 40th anniversary limited edition white vinyl. 30% of the price of this product will be donated to the Band Aid Charitable Trust. So it'll go to help feeding starving kids around the world, starving people. It's just awful what's happening in some places of the world, that we are still dealing with starvation and still dealing with wars, and it's just sad. Motorhead, No Remorse. This is a special edition of this. 50 pairs. I'm sorry, can't read that. 50 years and louder. The classic double album from the greatest hard rock band of all time, pressed on red and black splatter vinyl, also includes album cover poster. And it actually has like staples that have been put in the front cover here. You can't see them, but it kind of gives it sort of an interesting feel to it. I don't know what their thought with doing that was, but there's at least, I don't know, 8 or 9 of them here. So anyway, it must be holding the poster in or something. Another Motorhead reissue also, No Sleep Till Hammersmith. This was a live record, and this is also 50 years of 50 years of louder. This one is pressed on, let's see, these were both done at Half Speed Masters. This one is yellow and black vinyl, so they did cool color pressings of them. Also, this album has been reissued I don't know how many times, but I love the cover. It's Charlie Brown Christmas, Vince Guaraldi, and this time it's sort of a hologram cover. I don't know if that's picking up very well. There you go. You see how it's kind of, ooh, it looks like it's snowing. Should I be talking about snow already? And then one last thing here that just showed up that some of you might remember from the early 90s. White Town, Women in Technology. This was kind of a one-off, limited edition of 1,000 individually numbered copies on turquoise color vinyl. This has the big hit, Your Woman, which had the lyrics, I could never be your woman. And this is number 131. This was sort of a project by, I'm trying to remember the guy's name, but it was the only record of 97. Your Woman was a number one hit in the US. And it's kind of one of those forgotten or almost forgotten songs because he basically just kind of came and went. This album was really kind of originally supposed to be kind of like a demo type situation, and people liked it so much that it got released sort of as is, but it's kind of got Depeche Mode type sort of influence, but the guy is much more sort of like homespun, homegrown, kind of rough vocals a lot of the time. And I don't mean rough, I mean sort of like an untrained vocalist. Like he's just kind of very conversational type vocals. Anyway, it was a pretty good record. It's, again, you can find it usually in like the used CD bins for $1 or $2 if you find it at all. But it was a really interesting at the time. People thought maybe it would turn into something, and it didn't really turn into anything other than Your Woman being a number one hit. And then a couple other things here on, we've got a 7-inch, All Good, De La Soul featuring Shaka Khan, and the B-side is Ooh featuring Redman. So it's kind of a limited edition commemorative single. And the other thing is a tribute to Sublime on CD. I think it is available on vinyl, but it's like a triple vinyl. It's already a pretty stacked double CD here, featuring Pennywise, Jack Johnson, Slightly Stupid, Michael Franti, who's kind of got some stuff going on in the news, Zach Brown, Mike Watt, G-Love, Grey Boy All-Stars, Pepper, you kind of get the picture, Long Beach Dub All-Stars, Sublime, a tribute. All right, that's it, guys. I don't really have anything to say except have a peaceful, successful holiday weekend. I hope you all stay well. There are tragedies in the world, school shootings. It just goes on, and it's just heartbreaking. A personal note, I also just found out about another former professor of mine who passed away tragically. She was rather young and was struggling with Alzheimer's for a while, and she just left us in the last few days. So that makes 3 incredible mentors that I had in the last 15 or so years, 20 years of pursuing my dreams of being more involved in music again, and it's just been kind of heartbreaking. So my thoughts and prayers, condolences go out to her and her family. Very sweet and kind individual, and just a tragic loss. So make the most of your weekend, and make the most of the rest of the year. Take care of people, and enjoy the music. Above all, enjoy the music. It kind of keeps us going. For those of us that really know what music can do for our lives, I think people need more of it these days. Maybe more of that and fewer guns. I don't know. I'm not going to get political. All right. Background checks? Okay. Sorry. Have a great weekend. Peace. Take care. Love you guys. Thanks.